Nothing about Elden Ring's Shadow of the Erdtree is absolutely normal. The map, the enemy variety, bosses, and just the spectacle of the entire thing. I mean, I was expecting just so much when it came to this expansion, considering that this is the highly anticipated follow up to Elden Ring, a game that was getting 10 out of 10s everywhere. It's probably one of the top games of all time, but even my expectations were just honestly blown away throughout the entire process as I was playing this one. This is a very, very late review. I'm so sorry. I just was not able to get through this the first week. I did not get an early code. I am a smaller YouTuber. I work full time just like all of you. And this expansion is just honestly freaking long. My goal here with my channel is to show you guys all what's worth spending your money and time on. If you like videos like this, help us out with a subscribe or like. And also, just as a heads up, I'm going to have zero spoilers in this video because the internet ruined the last boss for me, but I'm not going to ruin it for any of you. So let's get into the review. As I said earlier before, the expansion is long as hell. Calling this one an expansion is honestly just a slap in the face. I think this one feels like an Elden Ring 1.5 or even like, honestly, an Elden Ring 2. The story takes you to a completely new area that's basically two areas in the base game combined. It's got just as many secrets as the original map, keeping that charm, the difficulty, and just that really cool sense of discovery from the first game. I wanted to start by covering the story since arguably it might be just the worst part of just how Fromsoft makes these games. Love or hate it, the stories are told in riddles through dialogue. I think it's a pain in the ass, but there is kind of like a charm to it. Getting to the DLC involves killing Radon in the base game and getting to Mog and killing him. Killing these guys kind of plays into the story, but again, not spoiling anything, but you'll see what happens. This takes you basically to a whole new place called the Realm of Shadow, which is between the lands between. Confusing, yeah. But anyways, you get there, you find out that there's this Mikola, the Kind, who's ventured there trying to find the Promised Lord. There's all these NPCs that are following him. There are crosses left around with little messages. Any further is going to actually get into spoilers, but I will say, when it comes to the story here, I was able to understand the expansion just a lot better than the base game. And I think, the NPCs, the way the dialogue works, those crosses, and just kind of like what happens near the end, really makes it a lot easier to get into this time around. Just like all other Souls games though, you're not really getting just a full-on explanation of much, and again, you're learning through dialogue, item descriptions, and just context that's happening. It is unique, but I also think it is kind of a pain. If you do like Elden Ring though, if you were able to enjoy that story and, kind of just YouTube things and get into all the lore of it, I don't think the story here is going to disappoint at all. Moving on from the story to the open world, as I said earlier, it is freaking huge. I mean, this game took a while to beat because of difficulty, of course, but I mean, honestly, it was just a lot going on here. You've got 12 regions to explore total. I think the landscape is awesome. You've got these really, really cool spectacles that I'm not going to just spoil here, but I mean, the spookiness of the graves, this mountain that you climb later on. I mean, annoying, shitty poison swamps, which I could do less of, to be honest, and just some weird ass areas, honestly. There are some weird places that are freaky. But there's just so much going on to where each area really does feel unique. Elden Ring's base game is known for rewarding that exploration. I think it's a little lame here. This is an expansion, so there's not, that much you're going to be getting out of things because the hidden items are usually just smithing stones or just ingredients, but there is on top of that just a lot of hidden content, so you don't really want to miss anything. Exploration leads to some really good items at times, but then you're also getting hidden bosses and Erdtree fragments or Shadow Tree fragments. I'm not sure if that's the real pronunciation, but I saw that online. Whatever. The fragments are basically the new way to balance out leveling. You're not going to be able to overpower your way through the game without this at all. So farming the runes and just murdering mobs is really not that important this time around unless you're just trying to upgrade your stats, right? I was on a New Game Plus and I had hit level 150 when I started this. And trust me, those fragments really change things when it comes to difficulty. That brings me to difficulty, which is the most controversial point here. When the game first came out, it got a mixed for just how hard it was. I mean, people are going to drop reviews whether they beat the game or not, and immediately it was getting review bombed for just being too hard. If you ask me, Elden Ring is a hard game. I think everyone forgot. Exploration is a big deal. If you couldn't take on the tree sentinel in the beginning, guess what? Explore, get stronger, and come back later. You're supposed to actually move around in this DLC, get more fragments, Switch up your build even. I mean, the new DLC weapons are awesome. I'll touch on that later, but they're awesome. I actually use them the entire time. I changed my build 3 times at least when it wasn't working, and then I ended up landing on one that I love with the awesome new backhand blades. Now that I've actually completed this one though, I'm going to just go out and say that legit criticism was honestly being drowned out by just dumb criticism. I think, yeah, the game is hard. It's supposed to be hard. But all of you guys that were just destroying this game, on a dance pad and the damn goldfish that beat Elden Ring must have just pissed off the creator so much that he decided to make our life hell in this expansion. I died so many times to mobs of enemies with those fragments or not. It just didn't matter. I honestly think I died more to those enemies of mobs that are just littered around everywhere than even the bosses at times. There are just a lot of cheap situations that the game decides to put you in where you get nothing but just overwhelmed, backed into a corner, wrecked by the camera, rolling into a bookcase on accident, or swinging and hitting a wall and just getting absolutely destroyed by these mobs. There's a point in the story where you get to these fire knights that one, you can't get near because their combos just don't stop. And two, if you decide to go far away and maybe throw lightning at them like what I decided to do, good luck. They're going to do nothing but just shoot homing fireballs at you. It felt so cheap at times and honestly just frustrating. It was taking it to where I was having just a lot of fun in the DLC to where I wanted to freaking chuck my controller into a wall. When it comes to the bosses, there's a little bit of this issue as well. This actually was an issue in Elden Ring's base game. The camera really is sometimes your worst enemy. You end up underneath a dragon, you're swinging for dear life, and you have just no idea what's going on because the way the lock-on system works and just how big the enemy is, I mean, good luck. Good luck keeping track. I thought it was super shitty, and at least for me, a proud Mimic user, I did not care. I was going to use this Mimic, and honestly, it felt like it was necessary the entire time because I just needed it to aggro some of these enemies. Just for at least for me to be able to center the freaking camera. Don't get me wrong. If I could take the boss without the Mimic, I did it a few times. But, after 10, 11 tries of me just banging my head against the wall, that bell came out. I don't care. The bell came right out. And sometimes, honestly, again, you guys piss this creator off just so much. As soon as you walk in through the shadows and ring that damn bell, I got one shot so many freaking times. And on top of that, it felt like they kind of nerfed this Mimic. I don't know if it's that good anymore. I don't remember it being this bad. But I mean, back to difficulty, it really borders from fun to frustrating. And at least to me, a lot of the enemies just have these crazy combos that don't give you a chance to even hit them. There's also really, really weird, crappy traps, which is those mobs that I mentioned, just waiting to ruin your day. I don't think this is a huge con. It does not make it a mixed. I mean, but it is a valid criticism, at least so far to the point the game really got an update early on. I mean, I think a week in, they updated it and they kind of nerfed it. So, they kind of agreed there that it was maybe a little overtuned. Now that I'm done ranting about the difficulty, length is something I do want to touch on. You can speed run this one, but good luck, it's going to be extra hard. I think the optional bosses are worth it because you're getting fragments, you're also leveling up, and you're finding some really cool new gear. Bosses in the expansion are no joke at all. Super memorable, awesome spectacles for you to freaking experience. And I mean, at times they feel impossible, but again, the second you beat them, you feel like you've conquered the freaking world. The game keeps that amazing feeling from the base game, even with mini bosses. To give you some perspective, you've got 7 main bosses, but there are 78, yes, literally 78 total bosses in the game. You're easily getting 20 plus hours out of this. I mean, I crossed 40 hours taking my time, and that includes me just struggling for hours, sometimes even a day or two against a boss, because I'm not the best at these types of games. I also want to talk weapons because they honestly didn't skimp out here. We've got 8 new weapon types, like claws, great katanas, these new long swords, and even just like a melee fist fighting style with this monk. I use the new magic blades that are launching out magic and can launch fire. I also use the new great katana and the backhand blades. Honestly, right now, the backhand blades, I just cannot put these down. I figured out an amazing build to where I'm getting some bleed on there as well. It's just way too much fun. I honestly wish, and this is something I said even in the first Elden Ring game, or base game, I really, really wish we had more larval tiers. I hate how limited we are on respecking because it's just unlimited respecs would be amazing. I'd love to be able to just constantly respec my character, considering there's just 103 weapons. Literally 103. Again, just insane. So that takes me to kind of like a wrap up here. I think I've talked about everything I can possibly talk about here without spoiling much. To be honest, if you're an Elden Ring fan, no matter what, this is a no brainer. I really doubt I'm convincing anyone to buy this. You've probably already bought it. Elden Ring has taken the Souls genre to this new open world filled with secrets, puzzles, new weapons, and just absolutely insane boss fights. I think the game is truly groundbreaking. It's one of my favorite new generation of games like Red Dead 2 that's come out in just so long. I think the expansion is just more Elden Ring, and that's amazing. It's not short. I think it's like 50 bucks. You've got 12 regions, over 100 weapons, and over 70 bosses. Fromsoft definitely took their time with this one, and I think it shows. Despite really difficult areas, camera issues with how big some of these bosses are, which honestly were in the OG game, I think everything about this expansion just delivers. For me, this is the best DLC I think I have ever played. And right now, it almost feels like this is in the running for Game of the Year, which is crazy because I don't think DLC has ever been Game of the Year. But again, this is my favorite. This feels like an Elden Ring sequel, way more than an Elden Ring expansion. I think Shadow of the Erdtree is an easy 10 out of 10 rating. It's a definite must buy, and I think if you haven't played Elden Ring, please give the OG game a shot and experience the best Souls-like game of our generation. If you made it this far, I appreciate it. I will be putting out way more reviews soon. I'm working on some Switch reviews as well for different games. Don't forget to hit the like button if you liked the video, and definitely hit the subscribe button. Help us out. We are getting super close to 500 subscribers. Anything helps us. Thanks again for watching, and I'm going to see you guys on the next video.